Hi guys, welcome back to another video. In today's video, we're going to talk about the little old forgotten about capo. So the capo, in my opinion, is one of the most important guitar accessories that you can use. If you're a songwriter, if you're a singer, if you're a recording artist, there are several uses for a capo. And today we're going to go through my top 4. So number 1 on my list would be the transposition of a song. So if you're a singer, a songwriter, or even recording artist, a capo is a very quick tool to be able to shift what you would play originally up the neck to a higher key. So especially if you're a singer, so if you're a female singer and you're trying to sing a song that was originally sung by a male in the key of G here, you can easily take the capo and move that up to wherever works for you. The other thing too is on guitar, a lot of times there are riffs and passages that if you want to maintain the original sound of that riff, say for example, Sweet Home Alabama, using a capo and using that exact same fingering, you'll maintain the exact sound of that riff. It's just moved up higher. So sometimes on guitar, if you tried to rearrange that riff with different fingering or different strings, although you're playing the exact same notes, a lot of the times it doesn't quite sound the same as the original. And number 2 on the list is actually sonic improvement. So if you're a songwriter and you've written a nice little riff or some chords that you think, they sound really good there, but I would just like that to sparkle a little bit more or lift, a capo is a great way to make your song just pop by just simply moving it up 2 frets, or sometimes, a lot can really help. So an example of this would be a long time ago, I wrote a song called P.S. I Love You, and I love the original guitar part that I wrote with no capo. But then I got thinking to myself, it's such a pretty part. I think it just needs to lift a lot more. So I experimented with the capo positioning and then settled on fret 5, which worked really well. So here's the riff without the capo. Here's the riff with the capo. So as I mentioned, the capo can really change the sonic landscape of a song. So even just adding a capo 2 frets or 3 frets from the original that you're playing can really lift. And our ears are generally drawn to higher frequency sounds. It seems to be where the excitement is. If you're a mix engineer or an audio engineer, you know that the excitement exists in those higher sort of frequencies. So experiment if you're a songwriter by putting a capo on different frets from what you originally wrote. Now, number 3 on the list would be easeability or making something easier to play. Now, most of the time we can get around the majority of riffs and even things you write, you can get around without a capo. However, sometimes, if you're a fingerstyle guitar player, or you might come up with a riff where you think, man, that sounds amazing, but it's really difficult to play. And that's okay. Most of us fall within having the average sort of finger length. So, we do our best to get around without a capo. But if you write something where you're trying to stretch across 5 or 6 more frets, sometimes it can be a little bit challenging. So using a capo to actually shorten the frets is absolutely fine if you're trying to make something easier to play. So an example of that would be, years ago, I wrote a song called Streets of Persia. And again, I originally wrote it with no capo. However, some of these chord shapes were just getting a little bit too challenging for me to get all the chords, the bass, and the melody together. So I'm stretching from fret 7 there to fret 3, and I'm also using my pinky down on the melody part there on the top string. So I experimented with the capo, and to be honest, I actually wanted the song to lift a little bit more too. So I ended up settling with the capo on fret 2. It made the song lift, but then I could actually get around some of those positions a lot easier. Now, the majority of us have sort of an average finger length, but if you have a pinky that is this long, then you're probably not going to have trouble getting around the guitar without a capo. Paul Gilbert has really long fingers, as does Steve Vai, but the majority of us do fall into the realm of having an average sort of finger length. So if you have to use a capo to make something easier to play, it's absolutely okay, and don't let anyone discourage you for that reason. So number 4 on the list would be split tuning. So the capo doesn't always have to cover all 6 strings. If you're an instrumentalist, if you're a fingerstyle writer, and you're trying to write multi-part, bass, melody, and chords all together, using a capo to cover just a certain amount of strings can give you sort of more access to lower notes and then higher notes. So again, you wouldn't be able to actually reach some of these notes with your fingers if you didn't have the capo. So what I mean by that is sometimes players will use a capo and cover 3, 4, or even 5 strings to be able to play a low E, but then up here, so without the capo, to play that, I would have to do it like this. But then I can't get these high notes there that I was getting. So the split tuning of a capo is really cool. Even if you're just writing a pop song, it can give you a lot of flexibility to add higher parts and lower parts too. Even if you're accompanying a singer, it's a really cool method to be able to get lower notes and some higher voicings on chords that you wouldn't be able to get. So that's my top 4 uses of a capo. Thank you so much for watching. I would love it if you could leave some comments below and also hit that subscribe button, and we'll see you in the next video.